Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the conversation. I hope everyone is doing fantastic this Wednesday morning. I'm coming to you live this time from Nashville, Tennessee, the state I grew up in, the city I was born in. And my dad is 93 years old and lives about an hour, well, about 2 hours from here. So I will be, after my meetings today, I will be headed over to visit and check on him. So I'm excited to be back in my home state. For all of my Floridian friends, that's my new adopted state, and I miss everyone there. I hope everything's going great in Florida. I understand from my family the weather is gorgeous. So let's get underway. Let's hear from everyone. Who's out there this morning, and where are you coming in from, and what are you thinking about this morning? We've got a great topic to talk about. Good morning, Carolyn. How are you doing? And Kristen, good to see you, Kristen. Good to share some emails with you this week. I hope everything's going great there in beautiful Sarasota. You might hear I'm a little hoarse this morning. I thought I was a country singer for a little while last night, but I realized I need to keep my day job, so I'm excited to be with you this morning, talking about leadership. Hey, Dave. Hey, Jessica. How's everybody? Good morning. Hope everybody's well. Hey, Carrie. Great to see you. Hope everything's well. Allison. Awesome. I tell you, we're going to talk about a great topic today, and that's relationships. You know, we've built up on our leadership conversation over the last, believe it, 20 weeks. Today is the 20th session. Hard to believe. Hey, Mark, how are you doing? Holding down the fort in Lake Mary. Glad to see that. I bet it's beautiful there in Lake Mary this morning. Good morning, Lexi. Hope you're well. So anyway, let's jump into this topic because it's a big one. Hey, Daryl, my good buddy. Good morning. Good to see you, my friend. We've talked everything from kind of the characteristics of leadership to some of the leadership principles and how we build on those. And then we talked about the importance of influence and all the things that go into that. We worked our way down, and now we're going to talk about the all-important topic. Good morning, Huck. Great seeing you. The all-important topic about relationships. And what we're talking about this morning is fostering rewarding relationships. So welcome back. Glad you're here, and we're going to jump in. So, relationships are important in all aspects of our life, but especially as leaders, you really have to have an appreciation and a willingness to lean in and work on building trustworthy, sustainable, deeper relationships. I like to prefer to, think of life as lived in depth, not in length. Right. And then when you think about relationships, that's a great way to think that life is lived in depth, not in length. I've talked to, some of you have worked with me. I've said, we don't want to be a mile wide and an inch deep. Right. We want to go deep with our clients. If you're in sales, particularly, good morning, Jill. Good to see you. If you're in sales, particularly, you know what I'm talking about. The deeper, the more you know. I used to always say, if you have clients, you should know their families, that know of them at least, their wives' names, their kids' names. You should know what's going on. Hey, Stephanie, that depth, it makes it harder for you to be fired when you have a genuine relationship, because they know you care about their success, you care about them individually, and you're going to do whatever you can to help them grow their business, to help them be successful in whatever you're partnered with them on. So go deep with your clients, go deep with your friends, and you'll be rewarded. For me, that means the most important thing I can build in life is those relationships we were talking about. Good leaders, I believe, invest more of their time in people than they do in things. So let's talk about that a little bit. What I think a great leader from a relationship-based point of view believes is they understand this. Affirming others is a great way. Good morning, Rebecca. Affirming others or showing appreciation for others is a great way to build a team, a firm, a company, anything you're involved in. Is just showing some affirmation. You recognize their contributions, their efforts, and that they're genuinely trying, they're genuinely good people. Because not every day is going to go great in the life of work or in the life of a relationship. Passion will be more contagious when paired with compassion. Passion will be more contagious when paired. Good morning, Lord Bowley. Passion will be more contagious when paired with compassion. I think that's a wonderful way to think. When you feed the emotional needs of others, they feel appreciated. Okay. Leaders recognize it's not about me, right? It's about we. We talk about that a lot, right? There's no I in team. You've heard all of the cliches and the things that go with it, but it's maybe easy to say, but I can tell you in 40 years of leading people, it's not always easy to express. When pressure's on, when uncertainty is involved, people need that affirmation. And when they're not getting it, what do? They tend to start becoming more selfish in that regard, not because they want to be that way or that they're changing or that it really becomes more about them. They just need that sense of security by knowing that they're appreciated and their work is adding value to their efforts. I've never met anybody that got up in the morning and didn't want to contribute in a positive way. All right. We all contribute, therefore we all count. Remember that. And we count on each other. Fostering good relationships with fellow leaders, co-workers, customers, competitors, the community at large is vital to overall success. And anybody that's worked with me and worked in media knows how important I think all of those things are, particularly to our business. We've got to show leadership, thought leadership, and the ability to convene around those kind of ideas. Relationships, personal and professional, are like lawns. I love this. They require constant care. Relationships are like lawns. They require constant care. So as leaders, you should strive to live and lead so that when others think of fairness and integrity, they think of you. Remember modeling the way? We talked about this. So when someone thinks, man, fairness matters in what we do. Integrity matters. Oh my gosh, that's Carrie. That's Lori. That's Rebecca. That's Jill. That's Huck. Man, they live that. They model that all the time. So one way you can think about this is to think before you speak. Think before you speak. Ask yourself this. Think before you speak. Is what I'm about to say thoughtful? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Think before you speak. Thoughtful, helpful, inspiring, necessary, or kind. A smart person knows what to say. A wise person knows whether to say it. I love that. But a thoughtful person knows how to say it. What we really want to get to is we want to be a hit with others, right? A hit with others. So here's how you be a hit with others. You be honest in all you do. You show integrity in your decisions, your judgment, your thinking, and you demonstrate trustworthiness in doing so. You do that, honest, integrity, and trustworthy, you will become a hit with your clients, with your friends, with your family, with those around you. Honesty and integrity are necessary for fostering good relationships because together, collectively, they form trust. Okay? It all matters, right? Trust is most important, though. Without trust, and trust is a big word. Some of you may have heard me talk about trust as a word and a concept and context and all that. But just in general, you get where we're going here. No one will want you on their team if they don't trust you, right? And as a leader, no one will want to follow you. Remember, leadership's influence. You're looking for followership, not in a bad way, in a good way, so that you can expand the capacity of the people around you through the access to your knowledge, experience, compassion, all those things we talked about, right? Leaders will not be followed if they're not trustworthy. Honesty, integrity, and trust, remember, now you're hit, are key components of a person's character. Our character is the wholeness of who we are, right? And who we are includes what we do when no one else is watching. That's what my father used to say to me all the time. Would you do that if I was in the room? Would you do these things if your grandmother was there? That's a good way to think. But you want true character, those what you will do when no one is watching, right? It takes time to build character because it requires experience. It requires maturity to gain the discernment and to get better at good decision making. I have found that to be a very important aspect of everything we think about. When we think about our personal brand, remember we talked about now you are the product a few weeks ago, and we talked about having, advisors around us. That's the same thing that's helping us stay in check around these things that really develop character. Leaders, I heard someone talk about it. It was in more in the political arena, and I'll say, but leaders without strong character and integrity, it doesn't matter about their policy. It doesn't matter about a lot of other things. They just will not be able to achieve everything that they should and could, because people just will not be able to get past that. Character matters. It's important to note that character can't be compartmentalized, though. Okay. You can't keep one part of your life from impacting the others around you in the other parts of your life. Remember that. You can't keep one part of your life from impacting the other parts of your life. No matter how hard you try or how long you may get away with it, eventually it's going to influence the other parts of your life. You can't be different for different groups or audiences or situations and still say that you're authentic. Author C.S. Lewis said it this way, and I love this in quote: integrity is doing the right thing when no one is looking. That was C.S. Lewis, big writer. Goes back to what I was just saying. A person's true character will always come to light. As you've heard before, sunshine is the best disinfectant. You got to like that, right? Reputations are fragile. They must be handled with care, like a valuable vase that, if dropped, can never quite be put together again. And that was Bill Pollard. He was the former CEO of ServiceMaster, and that used to be a vendor friend of ours and everything. And he wrote a book called The Soul of the Firm. And he believed that character to be the most important consideration in employment, and focused on people's personal development within the professional context, right? The three primary responsibilities of leadership, as he put it, which I 100% agree with, was this. First, care for people. Second, recognize your indebtedness. I thought, what a great line. Recognize your indebtedness. I never quite thought about it that way. So to their contributions. Think about your indebtedness to their contributions. Well said. Build a transparent culture so they feel safe being transparent with you. Build a transparent culture so that the individuals that make up that culture feel safe being transparent with you. What does that lean into? What we've already talked about before. Challenge the process, right? In short, find people of good character and work with that. People of good character build respected companies by forming rewarding relationships from within and outside the business. We talk about sometimes working in the business or working on the business. Now, most of you moving through your leadership profession, I want you to think more and more and more about how to allocate more time of thinking of working on the business strategy, how you're going to do better on the things that are going to make the most impact on your organization and outcomes, right? You've always got to work in the business, but as leaders, you should have a mentality of thinking about working on the business. And that's what a lot of that's getting at. Okay. So that's how you build those good songs. So how do we build good relationships and leaders that are mutually rewarding? Okay. So here's the way I like to think about it. Take opportunities to tell people how much you value them and why. Not just I value you, thank you. Laura, you're doing great. I really value you. But why do I really value you? What are the things? Get into the depth. Remember, go deep, right? Feeling undervalued is very unmotivating, we all know, right? So Rita, my wife, says this to me all the time. Put flowers on the living. I think that is a great way to think about how to think about other relationships. Now, encourage others. It's not just enough to tell them you appreciate them. Encourage them. Hope may be what they need most, right? Enthusiasm is encouraging. Show that enthusiasm, that passion. It'll rub off. It is contagious. If you're going to delegate, empower as well. Let that sink in, because I've seen a lot of good delegators, but they always had some little bit of a crutch held to it, or some conditions around it. It demonstrates trust in others' ability to achieve. I've said many times, no single decision or no single individual is going to cripple a company on one activity or one mistake. Most of the time, there are the cases where I guess you could have catastrophic, but in reality, most people are smart enough to know where their limits are. That's the key here. Most people recognize where their limits are. In my businesses, I've always gave more latitude than I probably should, because I thought it was the best ground to train with. with, right? Give them the latitude to have to think about the decision. Here's why. When they know they have the latitude to make it, they'll be more thoughtful about it. When you take that away, when you take responsibility from people, you take it for them. Remember, we talked about that. But when you don't give them the latitude to have to make a decision and have the accountability that goes with making it, they outsource that decision to you. They don't give you the best information. They don't think hard about it because it's not their problem. It's your problem. Always remember that is probably the most important advice I'll ever give you. Give them the latitude to be responsible. They will do a better job, I promise you. So show humility too. Humility matters in relationships. You won't learn anything from a mistake that you don't admit to making. I got to let that sink in for a second. You will not learn a darn thing from any mistake you ever make if you're not willing to admit that you made it. Big time, important stuff. Recognition. Learn from it. Don't confuse talking with communicating. I love that. Now look, I'm a talker. That's why I love it, I think. Don't confuse talking with communicating. Words have consequences, but so too does silence. Unfortunately, some would rather be ruined by praise than saved by criticism. I love that thought. And when we were putting this together, that came out. I just thought, wow, we might have to underline that. Say what you need to say in a respectful way, but be mindful that sometimes listening says more to a person than talking. Quiet people often have a lot to say when given the time to be heard. Learn to read between the lines. That is where the opportunity of true understanding most often hides, right? We've talked a lot about active listening. That is what that's getting to. Be tender when you're having to be tough. Be tender when you're having to be tough. In all situations, be kinder than necessary, has always been my motto. Hot heads and cool hearts will never solve anything. So taste your words before you spit them out. That's another tongue in mouth and one in shoe. Taste your words before you spit them out. I think that's always good advice. Be purposeful in difficult conversations, but be purposeful. We all have to have them. That is leadership. That's one of the most important values you will develop over time is the willingness and the understanding of the importance of having difficult conversations. That's the only way people learn. Disagree tactfully while pointing to commonality. There's always going to be some commonality. Handle conflict correctly, and it will bring you closer to those in conflict with you. Remember that. This is a conflict reconciliation because it reconciles you to the person you are in conflict with. Conflict resolution focuses only on the problem, so it only resolves the problem. You don't develop a deeper relationship. Remember, depth. How many times? Chat it up. Don't confuse talking with communicating. I'm going to use that today. Love it, Al. I'll chat it up. I mean, think about that, right? How many times you go in difficult situations, you solved the problem, but you didn't have a better relationship with the person. Think about when you really struggled with a time to really have a complicated conversation. But what it did is it broke the ice, it opened the door. They started opening up more honestly to you because they recognized the need to do so. And over time, you really developed a much deeper relationship with that individual. Remember, small gestures can make a big impact. This is so, so true. Never underestimate their value. It is often the smallest of gestures, sometimes that what someone will remember the most. The smallest things are what people will often remember most. For instance, take the time to pen a handwritten note. I've said this all my career. I still do it today because it gives more of yourself than a text message or an email ever could. Because doing it takes more time. People recognize that time, and it's a lot more personal and a lot less convenient. Important. Remember, small gestures make big impacts. Insist on being on time. You know, punctuality is everything. Punctuality shows respect. It says, I recognize your time is just as important as mine. I used to have a boss that made that very clear to me early in my career, and it really helped me. Relationships are vital. From Dave, relationships are vital. I've always told my clients, think of me as your employee, not your payroll. That philosophy has worked well for me to this day. I agree with that because really you want your client oftentimes thinking about you as an investment, not as a cost, right? Payroll's a cost. You're an investment. That's a great thing. Seek respect, not attention. It lasts longer. Seek respect, not attention. It lasts longer. Champion others to feel like winners, and they often will be. Isn't that amazing? Every day, reward others with something priceless: encouragement, praise, and the recognition of something good. Not so hard, is it? My takeaway for you today: every day we make deposits in the memory banks of others. Long after work is done, the relationships linger as what was most remembered. I think that's a good takeaway. Relationships are the reward we take with us. Relationships are the reward we take with us. My quote of the day came from Mother Teresa, and she shared this wise advice many years ago. Spread love everywhere you go. Let no one come to you without leaving happier. And that's my takeaway for this week for you. Huck, you won the book today, my friend. We appreciate you being with us every week. We look forward to seeing you send in a Capstone video, and we're going to do the Essentialism book. Everybody knows how much I appreciate that book. Next week, I can't wait to get into it. Well, actually, next week, I'm hoping to bring 2 or 3 people on with me. We're going to talk about the Capstone project, talk about some things like that, see what they're all about. That's what we're working toward. We hope we can get it pulled off the next week. If I'll get the request out there posted like I'm supposed to, I think we will. But our next series on this is going to be the significance of the servant leader. I think that's a great topic following the relationship topic we talked about today. But we're out of time. Thanks for being here. I hope you got something out of this. And I really do appreciate you. And thanks for the time you invest in this, in me, by being here. Thanks. Have a great day. Finish up your week strong and lead on.